Have you ever noticed how some people can be smiling, joking, even succeeding, yet their mind is already packing an escape bag? Not for a trip, for a disaster. They do not walk into a room, they scan it. They do not make a plan, they make a backup for the backup. And if you ask them why, they will say, "I'm just being realistic." But realism is not what it feels like inside. Inside, it feels like living with your hand on a fire alarm. Maybe it is you. Maybe you cannot enjoy good news without imagining the next problem. Maybe you hear silence and your brain translates it into danger. Maybe you prepare for the worst, not because you love drama, but because your nervous system thinks surprise equals pain. So why do some people always expect the worst, even when life is calm? Here is the psychology behind it. Before we get into the points, notice something. Preparing for the worst looks like strength. It looks like discipline, responsibility, maturity. But sometimes it is a survival skill that never got turned off. And when a survival skill stays on too long, it starts stealing your present. Picture someone named Daniel. He gets a compliment at work, and he feels proud for 3 seconds. Then his mind whispers, "What if they expect more now?" He rewrites tomorrow in his head, and the praise turns into pressure instantly in his chest. 1. Their brain is trained by negativity bias, and it feels like protection. The human brain is not built to be happy first. It is built to be safe first. So it remembers threats more than comfort. That is negativity bias. One awkward moment can outweigh 10 good ones. One failure can feel louder than 100 small wins. So when something good happens, their mind does not ask, "How do I enjoy this?" It asks, "What could go wrong?" Because if you can predict the danger, you can control the pain. That is the illusion. They replay scenarios like a movie trailer of disaster. They check their phone again. They read a message twice. They hear a tone shift and their chest tightens. This is not them being dramatic. It is their brain doing its job too well. And there is another bias hiding inside it. Loss aversion. Most people feel a loss more intensely than a gain of the same size. So the worst case feels heavier than the best case feels exciting. Their mind would rather prevent a negative than chase a positive. So they do not just hope, they brace. 2. They confuse anxiety with intuition because hypervigilance feels smart. Some people grow up in environments where you had to read the room. A parent who exploded without warning. A household where moods changed fast. A school where embarrassment was dangerous. A relationship where love felt conditional. So you learn to anticipate. You learn to watch microsigns. The pause before a reply. The look that says, "Something is off." You became good at noticing patterns. And when you become good at noticing patterns, anxiety can start wearing the mask of intuition. It says, "I am not worried, I am aware. I am not scared, I am prepared." This is hypervigilance, a nervous system that stays on alert, even in normal moments. And it is exhausting, because your body treats everyday life like a test. You might be sitting at dinner, and your mind is already planning what you will say if the conversation turns. You might be in a meeting, and your mind is already rehearsing the apology you might need. You might be in love, and your mind is already packing for the breakup. Because the body remembers uncertainty as danger. This is why they can seem calm on the outside. Their calm is not peace, it is control. 3. They learn that hope can be embarrassing, so they protect themselves with pessimism. There is a quiet fear behind worst-case planning. The fear of being seen as naive. The fear of getting excited and looking foolish later. So they keep their expectations low, like a shield. If I expect nothing, I cannot be disappointed. If I prepare for the worst, then pain will feel smaller. This is a coping strategy called defensive pessimism. Some people perform better when they imagine obstacles. But the problem is, when the mind turns it into identity, I am the person who expects the worst. I am the person who never gets surprised. I am the person who stays ready. Notice how that changes relationships. When someone says, "Relax," they hear, You are about to get hurt. So they become the one who warns everyone, the one who points out risks, the one who reads the fine print. And deep down, they are not trying to ruin the mood. They are trying to prevent shame. Because disappointment is not just sadness for them, it is humiliation. It is proof that they trusted the wrong thing. 4. Their mind is addicted to certainty, and uncertainty feels like loss of control. Some people can sit in uncertainty and still breathe. Others cannot. For them, uncertainty is not a neutral space. It is a threat. This is called intolerance of uncertainty. When the future feels unclear, their mind fills the gap with the darkest answer. Not because they enjoy it, because the brain hates open loops. An open loop feels like unfinished danger, so they ask questions that never end. What if I get sick? What if they leave? What if I fail? What if I wasted my time? They research, they plan, they save screenshots, they keep receipts, they rehearse conversations in their head. They do not do this because they love control. They do it because uncertainty triggers stress. And here is the twist. The more you try to eliminate uncertainty, the more sensitive you become to it, because life always has uncertainty. So, your standards for safety keep rising. Soon, you need reassurance for things that used to feel simple. A delayed reply, a small mistake, a new opportunity. And instead of feeling excited, you feel hunted by possibilities. This is where emotional intelligence matters. Emotional intelligence is not just naming feelings. It is noticing the difference between a real signal and an old alarm. It is saying, my mind is predicting, but that does not mean it is true. 5. They are not preparing for events, they are preparing for feelings. This is the deepest point. Most worst-case planners are not scared of what happens. They are scared of how it will feel if it happens. They fear the panic. They fear the shame. They fear the helplessness. So they prepare, not to stop reality, but to avoid emotional collapse. This is why they overthink. Overthinking is an attempt to outsource bravery. If I can think it through enough, I will not have to feel it. But feelings do not disappear. They wait. So preparation becomes a ritual, a way to feel safe for 5 minutes. Then the next fear arrives. Sometimes this comes from learned helplessness. If you grew up feeling like bad things happen no matter what you did, you might start believing the world is unpredictable. So you try to outsmart it. You try to prepare for every outcome, because the idea of being powerless again is unbearable. So you hold tight to planning. And planning becomes your sense of worth. If I am prepared, I am good. If I am not prepared, I am failing. But here is what no one tells you. Preparing for the worst is not the same as being ready for life. Because life includes joy. Life includes risk. Life includes moments you cannot control. And if you only practice fear, you will become fluent in fear. So what do you do if this is you? You do not shame yourself. This habit started as self-protection. It kept you functional. Respect that. Then update it. Start small. When your mind jumps to the worst case, ask a softer question. What is the most likely case? What is the best case? And what do I need to feel steady no matter what? That last question is power, because it builds internal safety, not external certainty. Builds self-efficacy. That means proving to yourself, I can handle discomfort. You do it by taking small risks and surviving them. You do it by letting a message sit for 5 minutes without checking. You do it by having one honest conversation without rehearsing every sentence. You do it by noticing your body, breathing, unclenching, coming back. Because your nervous system learns through experience, not through arguments. And if you catch yourself thinking, I am just being realistic, pause. Ask, is this realism, or is this old fear trying to drive? Realism is calm. Realism makes choices. Fear is loud. Fear makes you rehearse pain. Here is the takeaway. Some people prepare for the worst because the past taught them that surprise hurts. But you are allowed to live like the present is not your enemy. You are allowed to plan and still leave room for joy. You are allowed to be wise without being trapped. Your mind can be a protector, not a prison. If this hit you, share it with someone who always has a backup plan in their heart. And if you want more videos that decode quiet habits people hide behind smiles, subscribe, because the more you understand your patterns, the less they control you.